this episode of Viral Rewind, we're going to look at the Rabbit Visual Basic Script virus. Now, this is widely regarded as the first virus that makes use of the Windows scripting host, which is what the Visual Basic Script for VBS files use to run their code with. So we've got Rabbit here on the desktop. Look at its properties. It's only 546 bytes, so there's not a lot to it. Again, it's a Visual Basic Script scripting file. We go to Edit to look at the contents of the file. Again, because of its file size, there's not a whole lot to the code. So there's here VBS Virus version 1.0 by Lord Nadas of Codebreakers. Again, first Windows scripting virus. So what we see here from looking at the lines is that it makes use of the Windows shell to grab files in its directory. And then what it does, it looks for other Visual Basic Script files, so other .vbs is here based on this wildcard extensions, and then it copies the contents of this file here, Rabbit.VBS, and copies it into whatever .vbs files it finds in the current directory that Rabbit is located in. In this case, it's on the desktop, so it will look for any .vbs files on the desktop and copy this code into them, overwriting those files. And then we have another section here that's an if statement, which says that if it's the 15th of the month, then what it's going to do is output a dialog box at us that pretty much repeats what's up top here, saying that it's the Visual Basic Script Virus 1.0 by Lord Nadas, and then it's going to create a shortcut link to a URL for the Codebreakers URL link at codebreakers.org, and then save it. Again, that only happens when it is the 15th of the month. So, we have one other .vbs file here on the desktop. It just tests. There's nothing to it. It just says test in it, and of course it won't function if we try to run it because we haven't really put any actual working command lines in there. But when we run Rabbit, see, we get a command dialog box pop up there, which is the Windows shell that it's making use of to run its commands. And if we look at test VBS now, it now has the exact same contents as Rabbit does. So that's all Rabbit Visual VBS does, the Visual Basic Script virus. It just takes the code that's in it and then overwrites another .vbs file with its same code in the directory that it's located in. So again, Rabbit is on the desktop. We have another .vbs file here called test, and when we ran Rabbit, it overwrote test.vbs, so now that is basically a copy of the Rabbit. So if we run that, you see now it brings up the Windows shell, and it's just repeating the same code that Rabbit did. So it's basically just overwrote Rabbit.vbs with what was in this file. So it just goes back and forth. Now, you could probably tell from the code on there that it's very easy to modify to make it more destructive. And we've got a couple other files on here. We have a wave file, which is the Windows chimes, which works just fine. We have a bitmap image of a rather poorly drawn Christmas tree with ornaments and whatnot. We have a text document that just has a bad misspelling of sample. And of course we got our DVS file, and we have a copy of the Halen Windows virus because I just did that video before this one. So, if we want to infect a different set of file extensions, all we got to do is just change this. Whoops. I also got to remember that the keyboard on this laptop I'm using is a little wonky, so I got to be careful with what I'm typing in here. Delete, wave, save. Well, actually, let me do it this way. Okay, I see what it's doing. I need to take off the write protection because it's set as read-only right now. Here, take that off. Now I can overwrite it. Of course, actually, I just ran it, didn't I? Okay. Now, if I run the Rabbit.VBS scripting worm, again, Chimes works just fine, but I've reconfigured it to now infect .wav files. So if I run this, okay, we saw the Windows shell come up. Here comes the computer fan coming on because of load. And now Windows Media cannot play the file because the file has been overwritten. If I were to take this, and let's see, we change its extension here for a second. We'll change this to txt, make it a text file. We open the text file, it is now a copy of Rabbit. So that just shows what it can do with other formats. It will again overwrite it and corrupt the file so it no longer works. Now we can make this even more destructive if we change this wildcard to do all files. So I change that, and then we change this to VBS so that it actually runs. And now, as you saw, we still have our working bitmap file, this one text document. And of course we know all about these, including the Halen virus. The Halen virus, of course, works, but it's not on its payload date, so nothing's going to happen with it. Now, if we run this chimes.vbs, which again is Rabbit, but now has that star.star wildcard, you saw a whole bunch more on the Windows shell come up there. So we try to open our bitmap. Not found. Open our text document. Oh, cannot find that file. That's interesting. Interestingly, Halen is still working. Let me refresh the desktop. See, I've screwed up icons here. I've screwed up this text document. Notice it says new text start 1, so that's why we couldn't find it, because it has messed up the file name. Again, bitmap doesn't work. I'm surprised it did not mess up the Halen virus. That's interesting. VBS files, that. Again, these are shortcuts for connections. Our iOmega shortcut does not do anything. This looks like the shortcut Windows Media Player, does not do anything. So yes, that is pretty much what the Rabbit virus can do. Again, it's the first scripting virus. It didn't do a whole lot, but with some simple modifications, it can do a lot more and be a lot more destructive. So that's pretty much. I almost forgot to show this other section of the code here in the Rabbit VBS virus that activates on the 15th of any month. So I've gone ahead and changed the date to the 15th, and whenever we run Rabbit.VBS, see, we get that shell, and we get the little script host printout there that I showed you. They would say VBS v 1.0 by Lord Need Us code breakers. We press OK, and now we get our little URL link that opens up the code breakers website, which of course if we look at it, is the website that showed in there, codebreakers.org. Now this computer's not hooked up to the internet, so if I try to show you it, it won't load. In fact, it wants me to run the MSN Internet Access setup. So that is officially it now for the Rabbit.VBS Visual Basic Script virus.